Hello and happy Thursday, everybody. It's Josh here on the wrong lead. And man, I tweeted out earlier today that this is really shaped up to be a weird Derby week, and it's just gotten weirder, which is just I don't know. This is just some of the oddest stuff that I think we've had leading up to a Derby, um, just ever. So this is really nuts. But if you didn't check it out, obviously, we have a little bit of coverage out there already. Episode of Drank Champagne came out this morning. We had a Pick Six podcast come out on the podcast land, and we have individual videos for all those races on YouTube. So if you guys are looking for some ideas on a 2-day Pick Six, and one man who is probably the happiest ever to play this 2-day Pick Six in the past couple of years, Mr. Mark Capitan.
I don't know.
You're very happy to play it this time.
Oh, I love the 2-day Pick Six. I don't know if I'm going to play it this year. I might just play the Saturday only. Hopefully Friday carries, get a big price in the Oaks. Okay, I'm 100% going to be playing the 2-day. I mean, you're right. I just don't have to run a group ticket, and that makes
you happy. I know. Yeah, I know, and this
little Schadenfreude. It's I do enjoy my Schadenfreude.
Yeah, poor the poor person who's in charge of it now, I think, is in over his head. But I'll help him out at some point. One person who I think is at least going to put $1 in, because if I remember correctly, Caleb, you said, and I quote, "There is never going to be a Discord group ticket hit if I don't have at least like 1% of it."
Oh, yeah. I will be damned if y'all hit a 6-figure Pick Six and I'm not in on that. So there will be probably $20 flying by tonight or tomorrow morning. I'm not going to put any input in. I'm just along for the ride there.
The real question is, who's this year's Lexingtonian, though? That's the real question.
Lexingtonian? Are you talking about Flagstaff?
Or Flagstaff, yeah.
The horse that you left off?
Sorry, the wrong horse that I hate with a passion that somehow gets popped on a doping violation, and
Yeah. Do you guys play any Churchill today? I know you did a little bit, Mark.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I hit the early pick 5, which I played a $32 ticket and lost money on it, which was an impressive. That was impressive, because I think it paid 26 or something. Every freaking favorite one, every one of them. And then I dabbled a little around with the late, but I thought that the late sequence had some potential for some prices, which it did. It's just I didn't quite get to the prices because I didn't think there would be that big of prices. The maiden race was obviously a wide open affair, and you got a big price there. And on the final race, I thought I had some price potential. I thought the 11 made a lot of sense there. I didn't go deep enough to get to that horse. So, my normal Churchillness where I burn money.
Caleb, you play it all today?
No, it's been a crazy week. I haven't bet anything this week.
I loved your message, which basically the short version was, I'm done with work till Sunday at least. I am drinking lots of bourbon. So we'll see if we keep it in pocket here this entire time. We got 7 races we're gonna try and get through.
I brought the bottle, Josh.
Huh?
I brought the bottle.
Oh boy, so did I. You were talking about that Elijah Craig barrel proof pick that you got. My buddy's actually got a bottle of, I think, just regular Elijah Craig barrel proof, not a pick, sitting around for me. I think he paid like $70 for it, which is a little bit more expensive than I remember it, but I mean, you can't find it anymore. But he travels a lot for work, so he was able to pick me up this a while ago. This is a single barrel pick of 1792 foolproof.
Ooh, nice. So, their foolproof is good.
Yeah, it's very good.
Hit and miss, but I like their foolproof a lot better than anything else they offer.
Yep. Are you drinking said Elijah Craig, or did you bring something else in, something easier in?
I already had an Elijah Craig. This is some Stag Junior, and the bottle I brought in was actually old granddad. So that's
Yeah, there you
finish
smart.
There you go.
That's
There
smart.
you go.
So
Good
you
stuff.
got the 2 nice pours out of the way, and then you got something that you'll just you'll
Very
take care
nice.
of.
Yeah, after I drink those 2, everything tastes the same.
Yeah. What do you got there, Mark?
I am drinking a little bit of the newest release of some Little Book. This is Little Book. I think it's version volume 6. I tend to really like Little Book in general. I like national style that I really enjoy, and this one is honestly probably my favorite or second favorite. Little Book 2 is really good. And 6 is really really good. So I like them a lot.
Yeah, check your microphone was cutting in and out there a little bit, so maybe just double check that real quick, Mark.
But
Ryan Hauer here saying, "What's going on? Happy Thursday." Um, Andrew Champagne hates the word Thurby.
People
I don't
really
know.
nitpick some weird shit, don't
Man.
they?
Oh, Andrew, I don't know, man. He may or may not be joining us tomorrow. He had some family stuff come up. Nothing like major. Just like he might have to go run an errand for somebody, car issue. So he may or may not join us tomorrow for Derby Day. But lots of stuff with him out there. Him, myself, and Caleb. We also did the That's What G Said podcast. So if you got 4 hours to kill, or you're somebody who listens to stuff at 2x, maybe only 2 hours, he's got a nice long podcast out there with a bunch of stakes races from Saturday. So maybe when you wake up at like 9 o'clock in the morning to get your first bet in tomorrow, you can listen to it while those first 4
9?
races. What time's the first race start?
9:30?
11:30.
No,
Wait, is it
9:30
10?
Central. Sorry,
It's 10:30.
10:30 Eastern.
Oh,
I will
man.
say-
So I was just joking. I actually have to wake up at 9. Oh, that's not good.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh, man.
I will say,
But-
because we are plugging Gino's stuff. Gino does a really good job. I really like anytime he does like Breeders' Cup sequences or the Derby Oaks type sequence stuff. He just does a really good job. I think he gets really smart people on there. You get a lot of really good opinions, and albeit they're long winded, they're a very good listen.
Uncle Sully saying, "Greetings, nephews. One more week of high school soccer, and it's all horses from here on out. Which jockeys are we trashing tonight?
All of them.
All of them.
All of them.
This is all of them. Like, I mean, we hold nothing back. But yeah, we're gonna try our best to get through these pretty quickly. Our friend Stephen Fox said that. Yeah, that we'll probably get through this quickly because it's not the big fields that are a problem. It's the 5-horse fields that take us a long time to get through. So
He has a very good point there.
and so we're going to start here. Race 5, Grade 2, Ali Sheba. As part of the early pick 5, not really part of any other sequence. So if you don't want to really get involved, this is early. This is a race that's not really part of a lot of stuff. You get the return of Art Collector, Last Samurai's in here, Rich Strike, West Willpower, and then you got a couple of other. I don't know, I guess lesser known horses in Giant Game, Milliken, Smile Happy. I mean, people remember from the commercials, but a nice little 7-horse race to get us started off here. I thought this race was pretty straightforward. I think your decision is, what do you think of Art Collector and what do you think of West Willpower? I think West Willpower kind of looms pretty big from a pace scenario. I think that he is going to be pretty forwardly placed, and I just don't know if anyone's going to catch him. It doesn't seem like there's a ton of speed in this race. Milken's got a little bit of speed. I think Art Collector obviously has got a little bit of speed, but lately has been kind of sitting just off. But yeah, I don't know. I had a hard time getting around West Willpower in here, and I'm not one to use too short prices in a race. The only other horse that I was a little bit interested in was Last Samurai coming in from Oak Lawn. I know he got proxied last time out, and poor Greg had to change his League of Legends name due to
what did he change it
Last
to?
Samurai getting proxied. Daddy Proxy. So he's now Daddy Proxy on League of Legends. I don't know. I thought Last Samurai horses coming from off the pace made the most sense. maybe he just got a little short last time out. I don't know, but he seems to run pretty well at 1.16 miles. Maybe that extra half furlong just did him in last time. I don't know, but I thought he was interesting in this spot. I really don't want anything to do with Collector. I do think that he prefers longer. I mean, he's won at this distance before, but I don't know. I think I'd probably get through this race with just the 2 and the 4. This would definitely be if an A B type situation. I wouldn't use them equally. Caleb, what do you think?
Yeah, Josh, I see the race exactly the same as you. So all that I'll really add was, as far as Last Samurai goes, if you go back and watch that race, he literally bounces off the rail in the stretch. I mean, he tries to go up the fence to make his move, and the hole kind of gets tight, and legitimately like scrapes the rail, has to kind of check up a little bit, and then just ends up not getting there. But in my mind, there was no doubt that he was just tons the best in that race. So I'm upgrading him off of that. I think he should have won that race. But like you said, I do think Westwell Power has a big pace advantage in here. I'm not willing to use him and Art Collector kind of both together, given the fact that I think the sequence overall looks pretty chalky. So I'm going to go with the exact same two you are in the exact same order: Westwell Power over Last Samurai, and that's kind of the only two that I found interesting in here.
Yeah, shockingly, I'm a little bit different. I mean, I do have West Willpower on top. Obviously, me, I'm going to eat the chalk and put him on top as an alone A. But I think West Willpower makes all the sense in the world here. The two other horses I was a little interested in are the number 3, Rich Strike. I realize that his form as of late has not been the best. I do like that they are, changing distances a little bit with him. And, I think there's a pace complexion where they go a little fast early and it kind of sets him up a little bit late. I don't know if he's good enough in here, but he does really like Churchill Downs with his best work coming across the surface. So I thought he was interesting here, but he probably gets overbet just on the name recognition factor alone. And so that makes him a hard horse to figure out what to do with. But I thought he does make some sense in here. So his best races do sort of fit with, with some of the best of West Willpower. And there's an argument to be made that Rich Strike has a bit of an every other sort of pattern where he fires a big fig every other, and this would be the every. So, and the other horse I was a little bit interested in is the 5 horse, Smile Happy. He's never run a fast enough figure to be a win candidate in here, but according to the workout reports, car clock reports, he's working out like an absolute monster right now. They really like that on him, and I kind of like him stretching back out here. I think that the jock change is notable and kind of interesting. Horse that didn't, ran his Derby. We only saw him twice last, we've seen, I guess you should say he ran his Derby, was off the rest of the year. We've seen him a couple times this year. I like him getting back to Churchill, where he does have a win across the surface, and he's a horse that is one of those. Maybe he takes that step forward as a 4-year-old. I don't know if I want him on top, but he's a horse I think makes an underneath in an exact or a trifecta kind of horse, and he's a little interesting, a bit of a price.
7:44 p.m. on May 4th, 2023. Let's write this down. Mark takes not one, but both the meme horses in the race.
I took both of them.
I mean, no, I tried to get there for Rich Strike. Does have a couple of nice races at Churchill. I mean, I don't know what happened in the Clark.
He's done that a few times in his career where he has these races where you just kind of go, that was almost too bad to believe, runs a huge Derby, and then his Belmont was pretty terrible. Comes back and runs his Travers was okay. His Lucas Classic was good. And then his BC Classic was terrible. So he's had that sort of up and down kind of pattern.
No, I think it's funny. I feel like when Rich Strike gets counted on, he doesn't show up. And when he's just an afterthought, he decides to show up. Because, I thought his Breeders' Cup Classic was better than it looked.
It was fine.
It was fine. Yeah, it was fine. The Travers was a good race. Like, yeah, he was just probably the 4th best 3-year-old last year. Like, that's just the horse he was. And the Belmont, I don't know, the Lucas
his Clark
Classic.
Was bad.
His Clark was bad. Yep.
Yeah.
And so, like of course, right, he's going to come up and bite me in the ass this time because I'm not on him. But, I think he's a good horse. Like, I think we're past the memes. But
betting Rich Strike on Kentucky Derby weekend is like the biggest underlay I can possibly imagine. So, like, he could win. I like the horse a little bit, but boy, is he going to be way shorter than I would ever really want to bet him on. But I will agree with
Yeah,
Mark that I thought Smile Happy was, if I was going to go beyond my top two, Smile Happy would be my third. I thought he was an interesting outsider that has really fast figures at 2 and 3 that just struggles to really take that next step. But if he does, he could maybe figure in here.
you know, isn't it kind of weird that a lot of these run happy horses just kind of disappeared? Smile Happy disappeared. There was a nice, well, I think it might have been a state bred, New York state bred horse, Nicky the Vest, that like came out of the gates, just like ran some huge numbers and then just like never showed up. So I don't know. Well, but it'll be interesting to see how Smile Happy does starting this year. I did like Road Warrior's comment where he said, "I'm a big Bill Mott fan. I hate Art Collector in here." And it seems like everyone else agrees. So, congratulations to the Ali Sheba winner, Art Collector, for winning at probably odds way too short than he should be. But we move on. We'll probably blow through some of these undercard races because yeah, the undercard. I know, Mark, you were talking a little bit in our group chat. You were just like, or maybe it was you, Caleb. Well, you guys agreed, but it was a little underwhelming. I feel like the right horses showed up, but still, like, I don't know. I don't know what we were expecting, but there. I think some of these races are pretty straightforward. I guess
it
you could
looks
say
a little
chalky.
chalky. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe not the Oaks necessarily. I mean, maybe the Oaks, maybe not. But like a lot of the races leading up to that with Money's Gold and Caravel and then perhaps Westwell Power. I mean, it looks on the chalky side.
I will say that the 2-day pick six actually looks really good because
Is it $1
gets around.
or $2?
It's $1. It's $1.
Okay, nice.
But it gets around a lot of these chalky races, right? Because it includes the Oaks, which when I was talking with Stu yesterday, it looks like a spread race, and then it includes it starts with the La Troyenne, which I don't think
not
is necessarily
an easy race.
Huh? No, it's
not an easy race.
Not an easy,
and I think just having the probably the two best races on the day in the sequence helps because there is some chalk, right? The Cody's Wish races in there tomorrow or on Saturday and stuff, but at least you got those two races that kind of make some separation. But race 6, mile and an eighth, Modesty, grade 3 for fillies and mares, 4-year-old and up. I think we got a short price in McCulloch here at 5-2. You notice I have nothing written down next to it, so I'm sure Mark is probably going to be singling a McCulloch and or Shantasara at 2-1 because he loves Chad Brown more than I love Larry Ravelli.
Dude, I don't love Chad. I say, well, easy now. I don't love Chad Brown that much.
But we got 9 horses signed up here. We got a couple of short prices in the Chad Brown's horses. And then you have Didia and New Year's Eve at 5-1. And then everyone else is at double digits. Mark, since you are the Chad Brown lover here, who do you like here?
I'm going to tell you I like a horse that's not a Chad Brown horse, which is shocking, I know. I have nothing. I can't say anything bad against McCulloch. McCulloch is just never a horse that I ever really loved. She does kind of seem like the every other type, and this would be the every race. She never really runs a bad race. She always hits the exacta, does everything she's supposed to do, but I think you get like half this price. I think McCulloch is of the of the Chad horses. Arad stays on McCulloch when he probably had choice between that and Shinarista, or however you say that. Shantasara. There we go. I just threw words. I just made it up as I go. But no, I think McCulloch of the two Chads is probably the more well-meant. And I know we've had this argument with Chad. I think he enters, a couple of horses that fit for a race, and whichever one brings their best game that day does. But no, I actually ended up as my top pick on the 2-horse, Didia, for Cornelio Iglesias. This horse has done absolutely nothing.
Wait, what was his first name?
Iglesias, I think.
Yeah, I know. I am
Mark,
really making words.
I'm going to tell you right now.
Yeah.
Real easy. Ignacio has a nickname. All right. There's a real common
just
nickname. I've
totally
heard him call this
dyslexia two
before,
names
right?
to get out
So
of
you don't
spot.
have to struggle with Ignacio, right?
Yep.
All right, it's you go to a Mexican restaurant, right? You go a group of people, and you're just like, you know what? Let's get a snack, right? Let's get an appetizer. What do you order?
Chips and guac.
Okay, well, let's get a little bit more. All right, what if you
Nachos?
put yes,
Okay.
Nacho Correas, all right?
Okay, Nacho
So
Correas. There we go. This horse has done absolutely nothing wrong since coming to the States, and honestly was pretty damn good before that. I don't know the quality of the company in Argentina this horse is facing, but the horse just likes to find the winner's circle. Vinny's been on for all 3 of the U.S. starts. I realize this is probably versus much easier at Colonial and Fairground, and this is definitely a step up in class. But she just kind of wins, and she just always sort of wins. And I just really like her in this spot. She should have a little bit of pace up in front. She should be able to, sit covered up, and Vinny can make one big move. And if you look at those, if you watch that Fairgrounds race, she looked damn good on a turf course at Fairgrounds that I always thought was pretty darn speed favoring, and the optics really likes her as a big old square. So, I think at 5-1, you can get past the 2 Chads, and maybe you get a little cute around her.
yeah, I landed on the same horse as a
Fuck.
kind of a lone A in this spot.
Oh God, are we all on the same horse?
I saw in a group chat someone made this comment, and I thought it was hilarious. And they said that this must be the best horse in the entire world if Vinny won 3 times on him. Future best horse in the world, Didia, was a lone A for me. I looked at this optics plot, and I mean, this is exactly what you want. Now, the plot fits it's listed as green. It's a little weird. They think that there's going to be a bit of pace in this race. So this does kind of set up for the 2. In fairness, this also sets up a little bit for the 8 New Year's Eve. So that might be one that might use as a B type in this race. But Caleb, you know that there's one other B horse I have to use in this race. And I got the optics plot put up for it. So which horse is it?
I'd probably have to guess it's the 6, but you don't like Chad, so maybe the 8.
Oh,
The 4, yes.
Yeah, you didn't even look up there. You're like, wait, I
didn't
didn't even see a horse up there.
Everybody else, I didn't even see it.
But I actually like Sparkle Blue here a bit. The horse is cutting back, right? Yeah, he's cutting back here. And cutting back gets Rosario aboard again. And Rosario rode this horse to a nice win, sitting just off the pace last time, or 2 races back at Keeneland. And some guy named Jay Rose won on this horse, and I don't even know who the hell that is. So, does seem to be kind of an every other type horse. I think the cutback's going to help. I think maybe just last time in the American Oaks was going too far. Didn't embarrass himself, finished 3rd to Rhea Moon, only missing by 3/4 of a length. So it wasn't like she finished super far back, but this is one that I think is going to be a little bit more forwardly placed. If Joel's ridden it before, has ridden it somewhat aggressively. So I think that Sparkle Blue fits in here at a bit of a price as a B.
Yeah, I see it the same way that you guys do for the most part. I think the number 2 Didia will be a single A for me. My only concern with Didia is really the jockey, and I know he's 3 for 3 on her, but this is a race that I think you're going to want to be a little more aggressive because I don't see a ton of speed in this race. Maybe the 1 secures the lead, the 4 with Joel maybe sits just off, but I don't expect them to be going very fast. I do not want Didia to be behind the Chad Brown horses turning for home. I don't think that's going to be the way she wins this race. She's naturally tactical. She can secure position. So as long as she gets a clean ride, I think she is the best horse in the race and probably does win. So I do like Didia. Her last couple of races have been very good as she moves up in class here. And then I have nothing really original to say otherwise. I guess I would probably give the nod to Shanasara over McCulloch, but neither one do a ton for me as the first and second betting choices. So yeah, I mean, they're both fine. They both are going to run their race. They both probably finish in the top 3 or 4, but at the prices, I think it's a no-brainer to go to Didia for me.
I'm surprised that you would pick Shantasara in the spot at all, because if you look back, I see a track called MTH, I'm pretty sure that automatically kind of qualifies this horse for a fake chat alert. Let's go up. There it is. I had to find the button.
You're digging back on a 2-year-old timeline, but you are correct. These are not horses I normally go for. But
And then he went to Tampa, right? Isn't Tampa fake Chad too?
Tampa's also fake Chad. You're
Yeah.
right.
So,
But it's a grade 3. Yeah, this isn't a grade 1. So
yeah. The other horse I was interested in, I did mention a little bit, was New Year's Eve. I think the horse is probably a little too slow, but does get Louis Saez aboard, who's just winning every single freaking race that they run at Churchill, in Kentucky in general. I mean, he had a great Keeneland meet as well, on the optics plot seemed to fit. So kind of ignoring the form that's in there. Hasn't won since the Edgewood last year, but maybe coming back to Churchill, the horse revitalized a little bit. Like I said, fits well in the plot. So, was a horse I'm interested in as a B type in here. Anything else you guys want to talk about in this race?
no, it's pretty straightforward to me.
No? Dude, PDT always complains that we keep bringing the soy sauce story up, and he brings it up himself. So
I haven't brought it up in forever.
Extra sodium.
Yeah.
He's doing this to himself.
And the horse that is my first Derby memory, the 8 Bells. Probably a bad.
Before we go
Remember
real
8
quick,
Bells?
I just wanted to ask you guys, because I haven't seen Churchill basically at all this year. What's the deal with the turf? I mean, have you guys noticed any track tendencies, biases? I mean, is it fair? Is it good? Is it whatever we had last year?
I think it's been playing fair. I know the opening day there was a horse that wired, and there was also a closer that fired well. I haven't seen any bias that's jumped out at me yet, but again, very limited sample size because they're only running like 2 or 3 races across the turf a day, and they've only been open a couple of days, so it's really hard to get a good feel on as of yet. But everything I've seen so far, nothing jumped out at me as being super biased.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, last year we had the Santons and the Speak of the Devils that just romped.
That wasn't turf though. That was
the speed was
brown.
bad, inside was bad, so it was a very unique results we had from that. So just trying to make sure. If you told me speed was golden, I might change my opinion on some of these races. But okay.
Yeah, no, I think it's been pretty fair. Maybe a little bit forwardly placed, but nothing like. If I had to like guess, maybe quarter length. Like not like a huge bias. We're not talking like a 1 or 2 length bias or anything like that. So, but I thought it seems pretty fair in what I've seen. But then again, I always bet the forwardly placed horses. So maybe it's just me.
No matter what the bias is, we know what Josh is going to bet.
Yeah, but we got the 8 Bells here, and this is going to include a short price favorite in Money's Gold here, at 6 to 5. A lot of questions about this horse. The figures. This is like the anti Princess Noor, right? Princess Noor showed up to the big races without the figures, but kept on winning. This horse has the figures, and just like they're being, I think, really, really cautious. So I don't know if Todd's just like playing the long game, and just really bringing her along slow, or if there's an issue. Or if he's really just concerned about going any longer than 6 or 7 furlongs. But Money's Gold shows up in here. I mean, he's been running in State Bred Company, and I mean, obliterating State Bred Company. So I'm not really sure what to think. Looking on anything, I mean, the horse just like screams off the paper. I mean, that big old square there on optics. I don't know. Like, I guess this is just a single and move on. There are 2 other horses I like in this spot. Will probably be more underneath plays, but I don't know, Caleb. How did you kind of see this?
I looked long and hard for ways to try to beat Money's Gold in this race because this is not the kind of Todd Pletcher horse that I typically want to bet. Debuts at Monmouth, then goes into a Florida bred allowance, then goes into a Florida bred stakes at Tampa. Like, I just want to puke just saying that out loud. Mm-hmm. But if you look at the field, this does not feel like one of the stronger renditions of the 8 Bells. And the only horses that I could even remotely make a case for would be maybe the 6 Red Carpet Ready and the 8 A Seed, neither of whom I think are, just on numbers and figures and what they've shown so far. I think it's tough to make the argument against Money's Gold. So, despite the fact that I don't like how she's coming into this race, I am going to kind of begrudgingly trust the figures, trust the numbers, and I'm not going to try to beat her in here.
Yeah, I tend to agree with what Caleb said. She's the kind of horse that you look at the race and you go, there are just a million question marks. But if you watch that Tampa race, she was in a freaking different county when they finished. I mean, that race is hilarious. You don't see very many 7 furlong races where they pan, the winner goes by, and there's like a 5-second break until the rest of the field comes through. She was absolutely just in her own zip code, and it was amazingly impressive, and she's done that basically 3 times in a row. So I don't know why they're managing her how they are. Yeah, I don't know why this is sort of the first real race she's shown up in. But Todd does know how to manage them, and these Todd horses that are sort of lightly raced and sporadically placed, and he's very tactical with them. He tends to win with these types. So I found it really hard to get by Money's Gold as that sort of lone A type. It's the horse I would love to beat on this card, because if you beat her, you're gonna get paid in anything horizontal. But she's so hard to do it with. And I would say the one horse that Josh does have marked down as a B that I was a little bit interested in was A Seed, the Chad Brown horse. Obviously, a horse with 1 race, 1 start, and Chad can move this type up. I wanted a fresh face that I didn't kind of know what they were. And again, this is not the best running of this race, so it's hard to get past Money's Gold. Maybe A Seed makes my ticket as like a C type, but I'll be pretty skinny to Money's Gold.
Yeah, and Money's Gold, I think earned some what was it, 106 buyer last time out, which is the fastest.
Yeah, 106.
The fastest 3-year-old figure. Period.
Well, I mean, if you want a gaudy stat, she ran a 106. The second fastest buyer in the field is an 84. I mean, she's that's absurd.
Just from Caleb's sickness, right? Like from a game theory standpoint, you almost want to just bet against.
Oh yeah, toss her and buy the field, right?
What does this start the pick 5?
This starts a pick 5.
Yeah, it starts the pick 5, the pick 5 that people are going to want to play. The only other horse that I had a little bit interested in was actually the 1 Condensation for Chris Hartman, but this is, like I said, this is just another case. You compare anything that this horse has ran compared to what Money's Gold has put up, and I mean, there's just not much you can say, right? It's just, it's not great. Doesn't really line up much on the optics plot either. It really looks like 8 or 9, and 9 just looks way more deadly, I think, in the spot. So I don't know. This might just be a case where I single and move on. That last race, figure-wise, was very Kovefi-ish for Money's Gold. So it's just it's kind of hard to ignore. So
you mean Kafefe?
Kafefe, isn't that what I said?
You said Kafefe. Gone.
Mark, I was going to fact check you about zip codes at the Tampa Bay Downs, but I didn't. All right, because you said it was a different zip code in a different county, and I was going to tell you, I don't think 17 lengths makes up an entire county, Mark.
It probably does not make up an entire county, Josh. That's probably.
Caleb's like, get me out of here. He's like, get me on to the next race already. Race 8, the Unbridled Sydney Stakes here, presented by Turfway Park Racing and Gaming. And this is a fun little 5.5 furlong sprint on the turf for fillies and mares, 3-year-old and up. And I was really laughing because I'm looking, and I'm like, man, I was like, Bay Storm's a pretty solid little horse. He looks good, coming into this spot. And then, I was even looking at a horse like Miner's Queen. I'm like, oh yeah, why are these horses such long prices? And then for some reason, Caravel's in this race. And this is another one. This is I think this is more egregious than the last one, right? More egregious than Money's Gold, who they've just brought along kind of slow. What the hell is Caravel doing in this race and not in the turf sprint?
This is some cowardly shit.
Is that what this is? Is this just cowardly shit? Or like, is there a problem? Like, are they just trying to be real, like, cautious? Like, I don't understand. Am I missing something here?
I do not know.
Yeah,
Uh,
Road Warrior
uh,
right here. Why isn't Carol running the next day? I don't know. Mark, you were gonna have a theory here.
I got nothing. I mean, the only thing I can think of is that they're figuring cash an easy paycheck, take home your 200K, and then we'll go run something on Preakness weekend.
I don't know. Like, Caravel should absolutely just like destroy this field. Um, like you would think class wise. I'm guessing on Bayer. Like Briz doesn't like her last race at all. Um, how does Bayer and Timeform look at it? Do they like it?
I mean, versus this field, Christ, she ran 100, which should absolutely wreck this field. She got a 118 on time form. I mean, she's just so much better than everybody else in this field. Again, she's another horse that's got a 20-point effective event, 15 to 20-point advantage over every other horse in this field. And by the way, Road Warrior, love you, man. I just love you. You are the most Belmont homer ever, and I just love it.
I mean, are you guys taking any shots against in this spot, or are you just singling and moving on?
It's such a hard spot to take. I have been on the wrong side of Caravel so many times. I have tried to beat her so many times. I have some sort of random hatred that I can't quite explain for her. But I've tried so hard to beat her, and she's just. I don't see a chink in the armor. I mean, the only chink I see is that she's here versus not running on Saturday. So what do you? What's the? Is she here because there's something wrong? But I don't. Why would he run her? Why not just skip this race and point for something later if something's going on? It just seems. I have a really hard time figuring out a reason to try and beat her.
Yeah, I'm not really trying to beat her. I'll probably structure this race in like a AC kind of a format, and she's going to clearly be the lone A. The horses I thought were interesting if I was going to try to take a shot against her were first and foremost the number 9, Little Jewel. I get the feeling she'll probably be second or third choice on the morning line or post time odds, so I don't think you'll get a crazy value there. But she seems, despite being a 5-year-old mare, she's pretty lightly raced and has been moving forward in most of her starts. Couldn't quite get it done last out at Keeneland, but the Gulfstream race has come back pretty strong. So she's one I think is a little interesting, not super high on. The other one who I might take a bit of a shot with is going to be more of a price horse, actually, which is the number 4, Sarah Harper. Again, not a horse that I'm going to be using prominently, but this is a horse that I really think if you look at the pedigree and kind of look at the way she moves, that she just strikes me as a turf horse. Her one try on turf, she didn't really handle it, but she was coming off of an 8-month layoff into a stakes race, first time on turf, first time no Lasix. I mean, there was a lot of things going on there that maybe she just didn't quite fire her best race that day in the Smart and Fancy. I'm willing to give her one more shot. I find that it's interesting that Rosario takes the mount here. I would not expect to see her on the lead. I think he'll take her back a little bit. Whether or not that ends up being a good thing or not, I suppose we'll see. But she's one that I just think has the pedigree to really like this surface if she gets one more crack at the turf. Maybe it's a desperation move, but at 20-1, I'll give her one more shot as a kind of a C-type player.
Yeah. Looking at the race, obviously Caravel, and I got the optics plot posted up, right? Caravel's got Q1 square sitting up here nice and, nice and almost a little loose there on 2C. I'm telling you, man, I don't know. On optics, Baystorm looks like a player. And I saw that. I immediately I put a question mark because I was kind of like, okay, horse is 6-1, interesting. And if you kind of go back, I mean, the horse does have is 1-2, 1-2-0 in 4 starts, going 5.5. So last was obviously going down the hill at Santa Anita. Had been going a mile. But if you kind of look back, I mean, that Belmont 6 furlong race in July, followed by that Monmouth race. I don't know. The 5.5 races look pretty good. And Johnny V sees fit to get aboard here. So maybe one that kind of goes under the radar a little bit here. And you know, I don't know. If I was going to try and get around Caravel, it would probably be with the 1 base storm, and then a little bit more of a price. The 5 Miners Queen here, and this horse is. I don't know what happened last time. That race, obviously he was a huge price, but does have another race in October, going 5.5 at Keeneland at a huge price, sitting just off with Luis Saez aboard in 1. And what do you see now? Luis Saez decides to get aboard once again, and I've said this on other podcasts and everything else. Luis Saez is, if not the best, one of the best turf sprint riders, period. So the fact that he sees fit to get on this 20-1 shot that he's ridden before and won on, it interests me. Maybe you just play a Caravel over Miners. Maybe I just play a Caravel over Miners Queen kind of exacta, and if I really think that Caravel's unbeatable, but I don't know. Miners Queen was interesting to me in this spot, and the price is really good. The horse has been working really well. Obviously he ran after the last work, and I don't know what the heck Pratt did, but no one knows what Pratt does. He's the worst rider in America. So,
by the way, Continue R just scratched.
Yeah, I saw that.
Okay, cool.
And so it seems like the last also eligible gets in.
Yep.
It's really funny because I had all of Saturday prepped for tomorrow for our stream, and I kind of feel like with everything that's happened, I'm gonna have to redo everything. So thank you,
Welcome to Derby Week.
Thank you, Horse Racing, for all the time, the 4 hours plus of content I put out, basically making it meaningless within about 6 hours of releasing. So thank you.
Yeah. Well, one other horse before we move on, Josh, and that's the 3-horse Majestic d'Oro. Horse that I am, again, C-type at best for me, probably more of an underneath type play. But this is a horse that has been off since September after running a pretty terrible performance at Kentucky Downs, probably going further than she really wants to go. Brendan Walsh's barn has been absolutely firing, 3 for 4 on the meet so far. And when he goes to a rad, it tends to be a very high percentage move for him. I don't know if this horse is, is good enough to win. Nothing in the performance that says this one is, but this is a horse that I definitely like underneath. It will probably be a pretty solid price on connections that make a lot of sense. So that was a horse that I did want a little bit going through.
Irad has been riding pretty bad lately. Is it just me, or
not at Churchill?
He was very bad for Keeneland. I haven't watched Churchill.
He was terrible at Keeneland, and it seems like at Churchill he's sort of snapped and figured it out. I
laughed a little bit, and I don't remember if I probably mentioned it on one of the 9 million things I did this week, but I was laughing because I'm in this group chat, and someone had said something like, oh, they were talking about Derma Sotogake. Breaking from the 17 post, 17 posts has never won. No one from the UAE Derby's ever won. All these 0-4s, and he's like, I like Forte. I'm like, all right, Irad Ortiz is 0 for Derby. He hasn't even placed in the Derby. If you want to start talking 0 for stats, you can get into real dangerous.
You can tell whatever story you want to with the right stats.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter what your point is. You can support it if you cherry pick the right numbers.
Well, I just saw, what was it? In the last 26 derbies, a jockey with an E in their name, you had to have an E in your name to win in the last 26 derbies. So therefore, clearly, whatever, Irad can't win, right? There's, you can stretch anything to be however you want to.
Fletcher's 3 for 70 in the Derby, but he's also won 3 of the last 9 or something like that. It depends how you want to slice it.
Yeah. Mark and Steven 0 for in the group ticket.
This is also accurate.
You don't need stats for that. That one is just a pure given.
But I will say, before we move on to Sixer's point, however you say the name. God, I'm running into all the names tonight. The horse makes a ton of sense. This is a horse that's 10 for 17 lifetime. Clearly likes to get her photo taken. I think she just ends up really overbet here based on her chances of winning. Her best performances have just not been good enough to compete with the one horse that if you I think sometimes in these big races you're better off to sort of ignore that the Caravel exists this and play what are the rest. And I think the one horse is just, is going to be a similar price and has probably 10 times the likelihood of winning. Nothing against her, at all. I just think there are other players in here that are just better horses.
All right, let's keep going. We're making good time for once. But I think we got some tough races coming up.
These are some tough ones coming up.
The tough ones are coming up. Race 9, mile and 16, La Troyenne here. Fillies and mares, 4-year-olds and up. And Secret Oath coming off of what, like 2-3 weeks rest, showing up here. Yeah, you get a horse like Society showing up here, Amo ready. I don't know. I thought this was a real interesting race, and I kind of landed on the lone A here. Obviously, the 3 Cherry horse, which is Society in this spot. I thought this horse made a ton of sense. Ran pretty well in that Madison. Set the pace there. Went just absolute suicidal. And kept on for third. Obviously lost by 5 1/4 lengths. And then also that distaff obviously didn't look great. But you go back to the Cotillion, you go back to the Charlestown Oaks. Even the Monomoy Girl here last year. She's got some nice races. And going to mile and 16th, I think that seems to be the distance that she likes the most. Obviously, with the Cotillion that she won and the Monomoy Girl, she's 2 for 2 at the distance. She's 2 for 2 here at Churchill Downs. You got a lot of tactical speed in this race, but I don't think you have a lot of just straight line speed like Society has here. Jose Ortiz, of the 2 Ortizes, is the more aggressive rider. So I definitely see him, hustling this horse out. So this kind of ended up being my lone A in this spot, because I kind of felt like if I went any deeper, I think the only other horse I ended up on is Secret Oath, and I don't know. I don't know if the short rest, and the last 2 races, she ran her eyeballs out. I don't know if that took a little bit out of her, coming in here with just absolutely no break. A little concerned about the shortness of the layoff, but Caleb, where did you kind of see it?
Yeah, so I've been kind of beating this drum for probably a year and a half now, and I think Secret Oath is a really talented filly, but I hate the way she's campaigned, and I don't like this spot for her. I think she could be just an absolutely devastating miler, one-turn miler, because her turn of foot and her acceleration in the turn is just unbelievable. And maybe even on the turf, I think she could be extremely just, tough to run down. But against, these mile and an eighth, mile and a 16th, more traditional 2-turn routes, it seems like it just kind of blunts her kick a little bit. And I know she kind of ran a good race 2 back against Clairiere and company in the Azeri, but Clairiere turned the tables on her in the Apple Blossom. Now she wheels back on short rest. And I feel like she was over-raced last year and that she really went off form late. And I'm afraid the same thing could happen here. I think she's going to take a ton of money given her record, given the fact that she is an Oaks winner running on Oaks Day. So I'm going to be inclined to actually fade Secret Oath in here, even though I really respect her talent. The problem for me was that I couldn't really land on any 1 or 2 other horses to use. I did like Society a little bit, Josh, kind of your pick in here. I thought she made sense. I do think the pace is a chance to be pretty contested. I do think that Society does have the most natural speed and probably is the true need the lead type in this race. But I thought there was probably 3 or 4 others that were likely to be vying for that second or third stalking trip just a length off, which could result in the pace ending up being a little quicker than we may typically come to anticipate, given the raw fractions and the raw pace figures and whatever else. So with all that being said, I ended up landing on kind of a bunch of horses, but at the risk of not talking about them all, I guess I will say my top selection in here is actually, and I'm going back to a well that I've gone to many times before, the number 2 search results. this is a horse that I'm not entirely sure that a mile and an eighth is really in her wheelhouse, but I think a mile and a 16th might be. So I think the distance here makes a difference. She was caught up in a couple of really tough pace scenarios. The distaff is a race that was dominated by closers as they ran 1, 2, and 3. The personal ensign, I thought she ran fine, just getting nailed by Malafat at the last minute while putting significant distance between her and Latruska. She kind of dusted Latruska twice, actually. So I think that she's a mare that's really kind of grown into herself, has gotten better. This mile and a 16th distance, I think, actually is a lot better for her relative to a mile and an eighth. And yeah, I mean, I don't love anybody in here, so it's not like I'm going to say she's a single because she's absolutely not. But I think that Society has question marks, Secret Oath has question marks, search results has some questions to answer. Was probably my pick to show up and run her race.
Yeah, I'll keep this pretty quick. I have no really strong opinions beyond what both Josh and Caleb have said here. I ended up on Secret Oath and Society on top. I can make a case for somebody like Search Results as well. I do agree with Caleb's point. I think somebody like Played Hard arguably the one horse arguably needs the lead as well. So you may have a little bit more of a contentious. If you look at something like a time form graph, looks like Society is going to be lone speed. I have a feeling somebody like Played Hard may arguably need to go. So there may be a little more contentious than what it looks like on paper. I think it's hard. I mean, I don't have anything creative. I will probably be using mostly. I hate how Secret Oath is campaigned as well, but she does like to win. She does like Churchill, and she does like this trip. So even no matter how poorly I think she's campaigned, I still think she's a likely win candidate here. So I'll probably have Secret Oath and Society equally, and then I'm not going to get too creative or too deep here. And if one of those two doesn't win, I'm probably out of anything horizontally.
I mean, she likes to win, but she also has the fourth lowest win percentage in the entire field. So I mean, does she relative? Yeah. Does she like to win?
I mean, she's 6 of 15 lifetime and 2 for 4 at Churchill. So, if you're going to coin flip for a horse that you're going to get 3-1 on, that's actually a good long-term bet. But aren't
you more likely to get like 8-5 on this horse?
You think she's going to get bet that hard?
I think so.
I think so.
Okay, if I knew she was going to be that short, then I would be much less.
That he would bet way more on her.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not again. I love Secret Oath. She's such a cool horse. I don't like the way she's campaigned, and I think she takes a lot of money in here. There's a few bombs in here I like, Josh. Did you like any other prices, or are you pretty much just Society?
I mean, I'm mostly Society. Like the other horse, like I kind of like this one horse, Played Hard. I think that this might be the horse that kind of gets first run on Society. If Society does go too fast early, I feel like this is the horse going to sit right in second, right off the rail. Gets Johnny V aboard, won a mile and an eighth here, wire to wire in the Fall City. And I mean, just seems to really like Churchill, 3-3-1 in 8 starts here. And does have a really humongous number at Saratoga for some reason. I mean, it's huge on Briz. I don't know how it looks on Bayer or anything else, but yeah, I don't know. I think that this horse, cutting back just a little bit that half furlong, seems like a has that tactical speed, and gets Johnny V aboard, who just usually navigates a good trip. So I was a little interested in there. I was a little interested in Search Results, but I just felt like I'm going back to that well for the 95th millionth time. One horse I did try to get to was the 8 Desert Dawn. Finished third in the Beholder Mile. It's just a horse that doesn't seem to really like to win. But Umberto's riding. Phil D'Amato is just like absolutely on fire right now. So all of his horses have run everywhere and they're just completely cranked. So, I mean, this might be one that maybe can upset, or I don't know, maybe hits the board at a humongous price. But I don't know. I as far as like A types, I'm basically just on Society. What about you, Caleb? You said you liked some bombs, so.
Yeah, I mean, actually, the horses you mentioned, Josh, are not any of the ones I was actually looking at.
Oh, there you go.
So it's good to have some discourse. I think it creates some conversation. I did look at Played Hard because of kind of a horse for course angle. And I think with Johnny V getting up instead of Rosario, that this horse with the rail, maybe she tries to contest for the lead. I don't know. But that potential possibility is what kind of turned me off of her. But the bombs I was kind of looking at was, I guess, first and foremost, the number 3, 63 caliber, who came into the Houston's Ladies Classic as the favorite off of a three race win streak, and then just didn't show up. For whatever reason, maybe it was the muddy track, maybe it was just Sam Houston surface she didn't care for, but for whatever the reason is, you kind of throw that race out because it doesn't seem like it fits in with the rest of what she does. And her 3 races prior to that were all really good. I mean, she beat Kathleen O and Morning Matcha in her race 2 back in the Comely. Those are 2 really nice fillies and mares. She beat Falconet 3 back and Scratch Cat. Those are also some very respectable fillies and mares. I mean, yeah, maybe it's not your standard grade 1 company that Secret Oath has been keeping, but you're literally getting 10 times the price. So I think 63 Caliber is a horse that I think is really interesting. She's won at Churchill. She's 3 for 5 at the distance, and she's 4 for 5 over a fast track. So if the track comes up fast tomorrow, I think she could be pretty sneaky at a pretty big price. Go ahead, Mark.
I would say, how do you think this race sets up that she can win? Because what I'm looking at, she's just substantially slower than everybody else in the field. She's never run a race that makes her a player in this race on either Beyer or on time form, and not by a little bit, but quite a bit. How is there a race complexion you're seeing here that sets up where she could be a player here?
I mean, I think it depends on how you look at the figures, right? I mean, her race 2 back, Brisnet has it as 100, Timeform has it as a 115. For comparison, I mean, Society's last out race against Goodnight Olive was a 117. Her race 2 back was a 107. Secret Oath has a 123 and a 118 in her last 2. I don't think a 115 is out of the question mark for a horse making her second start as a 4-year-old. When you're really comparing that, that November effort as a 3-year-old to a May effort as a 4, I know Tom Amis isn't a guy that really gets horses to improve a ton going from 2 to 3 and 3 to 4. But for me, I don't think her figures are so far out of reach that she couldn't show up with an improved effort and get the job done. My bigger concern is more of a run style. I mean, if she's sitting too close to Society and perhaps Played Hard, does she just kind of get burned up? And that's kind of the risk. But I think 30 to 1 is just a ridiculous price, and that I would be interested in her all the way down to maybe 12 or 15 to 1. So
okay,
I think you get value on her.
I do know a very smart man who says that winter duck figs are bogus. So, I mean, I'll just throw that out there to start.
That's fair.
One horse in here that no one has mentioned at all, and I guess I have to go there because, again, I like horses that like to win. The 10, Amore. What do you do with her in here? I mean, she's 3 in a row. Cox is phenomenal when they win her last out. He's like 32% or something. She seems like the horse that again, we've been talking about the rest of the field. We're literally talking about 30 to 1s, and we're not talking about a 5 to 1 Cox horse with flow up. Is this a horse that just gets lost on the board and you get a ton of value on? Because I think she does make a sense. She's apparently been working extremely well in the mornings. So
I like the 10. I think she's a big player in here. I'll probably have her as an A. I don't love the fact. I think the grade 1 that she won was pretty soft out west, but clearly since going into the Cox barn, even though she left the Pletcher barn, she seems like a different horse. So yeah, I think she definitely makes sense there.
Yeah, I mean, that's the part that scares me is obviously Pletcher tried everything with her. Put her on turf even, which she does have some pedigree that says she might handle, and she just, she was okay, but never that, never that good. She was just kind of a, and also in that barn, and suddenly she's in the Cox barn and has ripped off 3 in a row, looks absolutely phenomenal. I think she's an interesting player here. I don't know. I don't know what the right price is. 5-1 feels like kind of no man's land for her. I would like her a little bit longer, but yeah.
Yeah, it looks like Andy really likes the horse. He says that Amore has been awoken with the trainer change to Cox. So, yep, she's always had great closing speed. Uncle Sully's saying, isn't Edgar Morales for the century in graded stakes races? Who is he on?
He's on the 3.
He's on 3.
I don't know. He might be. I don't care. 30-1. I don't care.
You'll be waiting. You'll wait the second century.
I'll wait him out.
Yeah, you'll wait him out. There you go. Sixer asking how fast you think they'll go here.
I agree with Caleb here. I think they actually go fairly quick in this.
I see it being contested, but this is a really tough race for me to get a feel for the pace. I could see the 1, 2, 3, 6, and 7 all kind of going, or I could see Society clearing off and then there being a 4-way scramble to try to sit second and third. So I don't know, but I think it'll be honest.
Yeah, I think it'll be honest as well. I think the 1 probably has to go. That's the only way the 1 can win is to get on the lead. And this 7 has to be very forwardly placed as well. And there's a couple of others here that just naturally want to be very forwardly placed. Search Results honestly wants to be very forwardly placed. So I don't see a situation where there isn't quite a bit of pace on here. I don't think they're going to go crazy, but I think it's going to be quite honest.
All right. Race 10, the Edgewood. Mile and 16th on the turf for fillies 3 years old. And I thought this was a very, very tough race. I landed on like 4 or 5 horses. And I think the horse I like the most is probably going to be... I thought it was going to be your favorite, but it looks like Cairo Consort actually is a little bit shorter at 3-1. But Mark, I'll let you go first since you're sipping the little book there, and I want to interrupt your joy.
Yeah, I love how you wait for me to take a sip of alcohol before I, you call on me. No, again, I do agree with you. I think this is one of the more open races. I think this and the Oaks are 2 of the more wide open races on the card. Both are very talented fields. I had a lot of horses that I had a really hard time drawing a line across. Obviously these 3-year-old fillies are always a bit of a, an unknown quantity. They tend to be a little inconsistent, and they tend to, performances hop up and somebody fires a big race. I didn't get super creative on top. I think Cairo Consort makes a lot of sense here, so everybody can drink now that I said that. And a horse that connections all the way around, and she's just going to have a lot to do in the lane in a big open, wide open field. I think that's my biggest knock against her is, she does tend to come from very far back. I also really like the 6 Mission of Joy, the Grand Motion horse, a little more lightly raced horse, but you're getting Joao Rosario up here. He chooses to ride a horse that's going to be a little bit more of a mid-pack type, but is perfect at the distance. I thought that Florida Oaks performance was actually fairly good, even though it did take place at Tampa. So I know Caleb's going to inherently make it a suspect race. And the other horse that I liked was Papilio, the 9, the Cassie horse. It's a Cassie horse, so therefore it should disappoint on the big stage. But I think if you made me choose a horse that I like the most, it's probably Papilio here. Who that last race was a pretty damn massive effort. Again, another horse that is going to be coming from a little bit. Well, I shouldn't say a little bit of it, quite a ways out of it. Closing from quite a ways back. The pedigree is a little bit, I don't know quite what to make of. That's not sort of mile and a 16th on the turf pedigree in my head, but this horse after shipping over from Ireland seemed to be pretty darn good. And Cassie does show up and have some pretty damn good stock. So I thought Papilio, the 9, made quite a lot of sense in this race as well. But again, there's a lot of ways you can go here. And if you have opinions, you're definitely going to get paid for them. Big open field with a lot of really cool contenders. And I know Josh wants to talk a couple of them. So I don't want to steal some of his thunder on a couple horses I know we both like.
Yeah, so that's why I'm going to let Caleb go next.
Yeah, mine is short and sweet, so I won't steal Josh's thunder at all. I will be singled to Papilio, and that's pretty much it for me. I think watching the replays of her last two starts in the States, I think she was just absolutely tons the best in both of those races. The problem that she has is that she's a bit of a head case. She doesn't want to run straight in the lane. She has a tendency to turn her head and lug in and veer in. She's has done that in both career starts in the States, just raced very, very unprofessionally. But there's never a doubt watching those races visually that she is just absolutely loaded and is going to win the race if she can just hold her path. So she's had arguably worse trips than Cairo Consort in each of the last two meetings, yet she has beaten Cairo Consort in both of those starts. I think that if she puts it all together, she could win this race by 3 or 4. Wouldn't surprise me. I think she's just really, really talented. So yeah, I'm going to single Papilio. Overcame a slow pace, 2 back to just miss by a neck, and then once again kind of came from very far back to beat Cairo Consort and a number of other horses in this race who figure to be main contenders. So yeah, I think with a more professional race out of her, she wins this race pretty easily. So I'm pretty much all in on Papilio. I'll have one kind of a backup horse, but I'm sure it's one of Josh's, so I'll defer to him.
Yeah, Papilio's my lone A in this spot. I looked at Papilio and I looked at Cairo Consort pretty closely. And Papilio's gotten the best of Cairo Consort the last couple times out. So I just think Papilio's going a little bit better than Cairo Consort. So I just don't really have any desire to use Cairo Consort when Papilio's just been kind of taking her lunch every single time out. Two other horses I was a little bit interested in. Obviously, the 2.75 cherry horse here, the 10 Flashy Gem. You know, I always think speed can be dangerous, and I think it's even more dangerous when it's in the hands of Luis Saez on the turf. Now, horse was running, broke its maiden at Ellis Park, wire to wire, and then went over to Turfway, and then went to Bourbonnette Oaks and finished second to a pretty nice horse in Botanical, who I think is going to be a pretty short price in the Kentucky Oaks. So, I think, Brad finally got it back into his head that, hey, this is actually a turf horse. Let's put it back on turf. I think this is a great spot for Flashy Gem. Like I said, Luis Saez gets aboard on the front. This horse has literally only got one option. It's to go. So, I'll sit there and I will have this horse somewhere. Let's see if she hangs on. And then the other horse I like was the other Brad Cox, or another one of the Brad Cox horses. I don't know if he's got any more in here, but Heavenly Sunday here. Ran third in that Appalachian, but which has Papilio and Cairo Consort kind of in common in that race. So if you're playing the matchup, obviously this is probably a horse that you toss. But just like I said, once again, looking at this from a pace scenario, I don't think that there's going to be as much pace pressure in this race. So, I think Flo's going to sit just off of the 10, and if the 10 does start to back it up a little bit, I think the 8's going to kind of get that first run. I think Papilio is going to be a little bit further back. So I went with the 8 and the 10 here as kind of B types, but lone A to Papilio. Which was the one that you liked, Caleb? The 10? Oh.
Oh, he broke it.
There we go. The unmute button wasn't working. The 10. For the reasons you mentioned, Josh, I think Botanical was a player in the Oaks, to be sure, and I think Flashy Gem ran a really nice race against Botanical last out. So yeah, this race doesn't seem like it has an abundance of speed. So I think that the 10 Flashy Gem with Saez up, especially if you get 10-1, which I don't think that you do, but that's the bet of the race at 10-1, to be sure, in my opinion.
Yeah. Mark, was there anything else you liked in here?
Yeah, there's two horses I am because we all know that I am the world's biggest Chad Brown lover. So the 5 horse preliminary I thought was actually pretty interesting. Chad has shown up to this race in the past with very lightly raised horses. Shown up, they pop a massive figure and win. I can't name them off because my memory fails me in my old age, but it's that has been a track that he has followed in the past. I thought that preliminary looked really good in that winning that maiden down at Gulfstream. Loba de Vegas are very prodigal, and I think this one has every right to be a runner and might get a little lost on the board for the trainer who's known for doing this kind of thing with turf fillies. I was more interested in her than the other Chad in here, Revelita, the 11. But I thought the 5 in here preliminary was pretty darn interesting.
Anything else you want to talk about in this race, Caleb?
No, that's all.
All right. Probably the race that'll probably take us about an hour to get through. Race 11, the Kentucky Oaks. This is a very, very tough race.
I love it. I just love it.
This is just like insane. And I mean, your short price is a 7 wet paint. Pretty impressive winner in the fantasy at 3 to 5. It's got 3 wins on all types of surfaces: wet, fast, sloppy, fast. I mean, probably should lay over this field, right? But I don't know. Like, this horse kind of reminds me a little bit of Forte, right? Like, yeah, like won 3 races. But I don't know. I'm just not impressed by it. I don't know. I don't know if it's just like my inherent, just like contrarianism that just doesn't want to bet this horse. But I basically am like almost pretending like this horse isn't in here, and just started looking at a bunch of other horses in this race. And once you start doing that, I mean, you got 13 other horses in this race, and you got 2 AEs or 3 AEs, and yeah, it's really nuts. I hope that we get scratches and Hoosier Philly draws in, because I want this horse to go from a 30
She'll be like
running line
somehow
to be 3 to 1 exactly. Of the AEs, the only one I'm actually interested in is Julia Shining. I thought that her Ashland was a little bit better than probably the PP's look, but my top pick in this race is the winner of said Ashland, the 11 Defining Purpose. And Caleb has accused me of maybe being a little bit too reliant on the optics plot, but the 11 sits there as a nice little square right there in the middle of this plot, and yeah, it just seems to kind of, I think with a couple of scratches of the AEs, I think it'll probably be an even bigger square there in the middle. And so I thought the 11 is just going to get the right trip, is going to get that, kind of tracking trip, sitting maybe like 4th or 5th. And yeah, I just thought that this is going to set up nicely for the 11. If I remember correctly, last time out, the 11 kind of got this like dream trip, just like tracking in 2nd or 3rd and won the Ashland. So there's maybe a little bit of question of maybe just the horse was tripped out last time out, but I don't know, these Keeneland horses, these Turfway horses, they've been firing. So the 11 was my top pick. I got like 10 other horses I probably like in here, so I'm not going to sit here and talk too long. We'll get back to it. But Mark, where did you kind of land here?
Yeah, so agreeing with Josh and Road Warrior in chat, I think my top pick is a horse that's not even in the field, and that's Julia Shining. I am extremely optimistic that we get a couple scratches in the field, or I don't know, I'm hopeful, whatever, that we get a couple scratches in the field and that she draws in. She. There's a lot of reasons to really like her in here. I thought her Ashland, she did not get to show her best, and she's been apparently training extremely well since that Ashland. So she's a horse that I'm extremely interested in betting here. Was a huge fan of Dreaming of Julia, so it's interesting to see one of her daughters, potentially making the starting gate in the Kentucky Oaks, which is a really, really cool thing for me.
Besides
And
Malfat, right?
what was
Besides
besides Malathat, yeah, exactly. That one other who was kind of okay.
She was okay.
She was okay. Yeah, no. So I think Julia Shining is extremely, extremely interesting in here, especially a little more distance here to run as well, which should fall into her lap. So
Yeah, there's and there's definitely arguments to be made, right? That she ran the best race. She was the best.
Oh yeah,
horse in that
no. I
last
think
race.
she was the best horse.
Yeah.
I think it's hard to make any other argument. It's just the fact of she doesn't have the points, and you have to get the points, and it's how the game is played. So if she doesn't go here, she'll go someplace else, and we'll get to see her hopefully later on in the season at Saratoga, which will be awesome. So she's definitely my top choice overall. I think my top choice of the horses that are actually in the field. I know your fellow whatever compadre on the Drinking Champagne show, Andrew Champagne, really likes Flying Connection, the 10, and I also really kind of am super interested in this horse.
He didn't like it,
God,
it was me.
Oh, was it you?
Yeah,
I thought
me.
it was Andrew.
No, he
Was
didn't
it
like
you?
it. He likes the other West Coast horse.
Oh, the other West Coasters. God, I was doing other things at work while I was listening to it, and I got the. You're gonna need to go back and pull Caleb's eye roll from what he just said when I said Flying Connection, because that was a world class eye roll. I mean, like they went all the way around his head, and I could see all the whites of his eyes, and I realize all the things. I know Caleb does looks at the Southwest and sees Zia Park and he sees Sunland, which is lower on his totem pole than Monmouth, which is impressive.
It is actually.
Monmouth is basically Monmouth and Tampa are the bottom of Caleb's totem pole. They're like these are like underground. But this is a horse that has seemed to have really turned a corner. And I mean, there's an argument to be made that they're fake figures from tracks that have just no quality. But I'm trying to make the argument here that maybe this is a horse that's just kind of figuring it out. Has seemed to get a lot better as they stretch this one out. Todd Fincher's had some decent horses. He tends to do his best stuff at these smaller tracks. But this is a horse that you're getting 15-1 on the morning line on a horse that really fits on every sort of metric that I like. So I really like Flying Connection in this spot as a horse who you're getting a ton of value for. You're just getting absolutely a ton of value for what the odds are most likely of this one when they pop the gates. So I don't want to talk this to death because I could talk about 6 more horses. So, and I already screwed up on what horse Josh likes. So my bad.
Yeah, I'll jump in then. Julia Shining is interesting if she gets in. I don't think she will, so I'm not going to spend any time really talking about her. The kind of unique thing about this race is that there doesn't seem to be a ton of speed. I think Flying Connection is just absolute vintage cheap speed that is going to back way up when the real running starts. So I'm not really considering her, but I do think she is your de facto leader. More or less the reason I bring that up is because I think that the pace scenario is going to work against a horse like Wet Paint, who admittedly has overcome some slow paces in her last couple of wins. But it's hard to find a horse that she'll be in front of at the half-mile pole. I mean, it's really tough. I think she'll be dead last. And I just don't ever like betting a horse like that as the favorite. I really struggle. Wet Paint's a very talented filly, to be sure, but I think she's going to be too short for me. The 2 horses, or I guess 3 horses that I'm kind of looking at in here. The first of which is to her immediate inside, Botanical, who we've maybe touched on briefly. She's a horse that I think could inherit that sort of second trip, just stalking off of the cheap speed of Flying Connection. She's never tried the dirt, but there's really no reason to think that she wouldn't handle it, being by Medaglia d'Oro and out of a Blaine mare. So she's not a need the lead type, as she's clearly shown some ability to pass horses, but also has a tactical speed to get a forward position if she wants it. I'm hoping the fact Chris Landeros is up will help the price there. So I think Botanical is quite interesting. The other one I like is the number 4 Southlawn. This feels like a weak crop of 3-year-old fillies for me. So I think that Southlawn came into the Fairgrounds Oaks, which is historically a pretty strong prep for this race, and absolutely just dusted a couple of today's competition with Pretty Mischievous and the Alice Look. Just no threat to her whatsoever. It kind of took her a while to put things together. Maybe Connections didn't know if she was a turf horse or dirt horse, but her last 2 were very impressive. She has a great run style to fit this race, and I think she definitely makes a lot of sense in here at 8-1.
I love Southlawn.
Like Southlawn?
I love Southlawn.
I mean, she just fits in here, right?
She fits, and I get, at least on Briz, the speed figure for the Fairground Oaks came back a little bit slow, but she won that race so impressively. Like she just kind of ranged up and then just blew past everybody. So I don't know. I thought she looked super impressive. I liked her in that Fairground Oaks, and she's got 2 really impressive wins back to back. Newly turned 3. I think this is just like we've talked about, like the horses from 2 to 3 that just haven't taken a step forward. This is definitely a horse that's taken that step forward from 2 to 3. And these are the types of horses that I want to bet, right? They got experience. They've raced against other horses, not just 5 or 6 horse fields. I mean, not 10, 9, 12, 12. So yeah, I don't know. I love Southlawn in this spot. It is probably an 8 for me as well with the 11. But these would be my 2 top picks in this race. So
yeah,
I literally have 10 horses marked down that I could potentially use in places. Southlawn is not in those 10.
wow.
Anywhere. I just don't get it. I don't trust the Fairground Figs at all. And I just.
But like, is Pretty Mischievous or the Alice Look in your 10?
Oh, Pretty Mischievous or Alice Look? No.
Okay, I mean, I can take that then. I mean, because I don't see how you use them, but don't use Southlawn. But if you throw out the race entirely, then
Yeah, no, I have neither one of them anywhere. I just double checked. So,
but I did want to loop back to a bomb I like in this race. Actually, this horse will almost certainly be the longest price in the field, and I think this horse has a legitimate chance, and that is the number 8 Promise Her America. This is a horse that I've always thought since watching her debut in the Winter Duck that she's going to be better with more ground. And as the distance has progressively gotten longer, she has progressively gotten better. She won the Grade 3 Gazelle last out over Gambling Girl, who is a mediocre but consistent Todd Pletcher horse. She beat 2 Chad Browns in that race, Shida Booty or something like that, who was undefeated going into that, and a Cult who was like 7-5 or something in that race. And she's just is a horse that just keeps on coming. And I mean, look, the pedigree, it's no surprise that she just relishes every step of ground that she'll get. And that aqueduct surface is very tiring. I think she's a horse that can be forward in this race, that doesn't have a ton of other speed, and is going to love the 1.125 trip. I mean, is she good enough? Or the Winter Duck Figs maybe a little dressed up? I mean, those are all fair questions. But as the horse that's probably going to be the longest price in the field, I think that Promise Her America actually comes in with a legitimate chance to at least hit the board, if not outright win.
Yeah,
I do love that Charles comes in and he basically takes my top pick, your top pick, and then tosses in wet paint in the try box. So we're seeing the ball pretty closely there, Charles. Go ahead, Mark. What were you gonna say?
No, I was just gonna say, because Caleb's throwing bombs out, I'll throw one bomb out that I'm gonna have. I don't know if this horse is an A or a B for me. It's kind of right on that line, but I know it was the horse that Josh said it was the first horse he tossed out of the race. So you can scroll all the way up to the 1 horse, which is Mimi.
This was the first toss I tossed in this race. Yeah.
Yeah. No. You said that on the stream. So Mimi Kakushi, who is your UAE Oaks winner. This is a horse that again you have to do the conversion, but if you do the conversion off that 90 global time form, plus what is it, 17. So she actually, if you do the conversion, fits in here on that last out time form fig, if you trust the figs coming out of those Dubai races. And she actually has a couple of races in a row that all fit. She's had a slowly improving pattern, and she's actually improved every single start, with the, and again, kind of getting better, won 3 in a row. And Mikhail Barzaloza decides to, ship to the United States to ride apparently one mount. And if you don't know who he is, he was, if you go back 5 or so years, he was the leading rider in Europe for a pretty extensive amount of time. Has had some extremely good, I think he's won the Dubai World Cup 2 or 3 times. Again, top tier world class jock talent who's deciding to ship to the United States to ride one mount. I think there's a chance. We were talking, and I know we're all going to be on the same horse in the Kentucky Derby. So I think some of these, Dubai shippers this year, we always kind of toss them on the Dubai bounce angle. I think that is, losing credence as being a reason to just blindly toss horses. I think this horse fits. I would love to see it work. I haven't seen it, I haven't actually been able to watch a work, so hopefully I'll be able to catch that tomorrow. But I think this is an interesting horse that probably gets completely lost on the board because effectively no one knows who this horse is, which I kind of dig.
I will say the one thing that interested me a little bit about the one. I know I said it was the first toss, but the fact that Mikel Barcelona came across the ride, it makes me at least like pause and think, right? Christophe Lemaire is coming over for Dermot Sotogake, obviously in the Derby. He's also picking up a couple other pickup mounts, but it doesn't seem like, I don't think Barcelona's named any other horses, and he's a very, very accomplished jock, winning numerous races in France, in the UK. I think he won the Epsom Derby, 2 years ago, if I remember correctly. No, 20. No, he won the Champion Stakes 2 years ago with Seal Away, but he's won the Epsom Derby. In 2011.
He's won the Dubai World Cup, I think, twice, and that's a dirt race. So
yeah,
he's one of those heroes that could ride on any surface. He's not
Yeah.
a turf specialist like some of them
he's
are.
not Ryan Moore,
Exactly.
who fucked up the ride on Mendelssohn many times, and I'm still not. I'm not bitter about it whatsoever. But yeah, the only other horse in here that I think I had a little bit interested in, and I know I got a little bit of flack, I think, from Andrew Champagne, because he seems to think that I'm upgrading a horse in a losing effort here. But the 3 Gambling Girl closed into basically no type of pace last time out, and finished second to long shot Promise Her America. Shows up here at 15-1. I'm a little interested here. I'm thinking that this is one, like I said, with the added distance, right, coming again here at 1.125 miles. If we do get a little bit of little bit more pace than we saw in the Gazelle, I think it's got a shot in this spot, especially at 15-1. Obviously, it's a Rapoli horse, Todd Pletcher trained, Irad Ortiz. I could see this horse just on connections alone maybe taking a little bit of money. So I don't think you get 15-1. But I don't know. Out of that Aqueduct race, this was the horse I liked a little bit more. But I don't know. Maybe this is just another Todd Pletcher plotter, and I'm just getting fooled by it. So
I like that. I mean, I have her written down, John. I think she's a great candidate to use underneath. I
Yes.
don't know that in her 10th start she all of a sudden finds a race that wins the Oaks, but I think she runs her race and gets a piece.
That was my take as well. She's a horse that's got a lot of starts. She doesn't win very often, but her form seems to be improving. Like if you look at the last 7 or 8 starts, she's getting better very slowly, but keeps consistently getting better. So I don't hate that.
And actually, I forgot to mention Darth Vader, who I'm using.
Kind of really like Darth Vader here a lot.
I don't know
has
what
no
happened that last
chance
race.
to get the distance.
I don't know, and that's the thing, right? Is maybe that she just came up short last time out, and now we're adding another half furlong. Maybe we're asking a lot. But I also
Her 2
see
races at 2 turns have been bad.
I also see the every other pattern, and so part of me is kind of like, like I'm squinting, and I'm like
Yep.
trying to make a case for a 20-1. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I also I think we've talked, or we've in our group chat, it's come up, confirmation bias, right? The fact that I had this horse in the Devona Dale and I hit that exacta, and like it paid like $1,000 or whatever nonsense. Like maybe I'm a little biased because of that, but I don't know. I like Darth Vader here a little bit, and it sounds like Mark did too. It sounds like
Yeah,
Caleb
I
just
like.
hates money and hates life.
Yeah, you know, I saw the same thing Josh did. I saw that every other pattern. There's definitely an argument to be made that she just can't get a two-turn race. And if Caleb is right, I'm okay with a 20-1 not being able to get a two-turn race, and whatever. She's not a horse I'm going to have singled, but she's going to be a horse I know I'm going to be spready this race. She's going to be part of that spread. Be it, that sort of B-ish type horse for me, and I'm fine with a 20-1 being a B who maybe finishes dead last because she can't get the distance, or maybe my every other pattern is right and I get a 20-1 home. I'm fine with that.
Yeah. I mean, she's not getting a piece of this. She's either going to
Oh
actually
yeah,
figure out a way to get the mile and in an eighth and win, or finish out the back. But at 20-1, I mean, I don't hate that opinion. I don't think she can
yeah.
get it, so I'm not going to use her. But if you think there's a chance, then you get paid to take that risk.
If she was 6 or 8-1, Caleb, no way in hell, not interested at all.
I
But
don't
at
think she'll be
20-1,
20, but I don't think she'll be 6 or 8. I think she'll be like 14,
15,
15, 16.
14, 15, yeah, that's where I had her. Yeah.
Yeah, Sixer thinks that Ired's going to get the 3 in the Super
I
here.
totally agree. Totally.
Yeah,
Agreed. Yeah.
I just thought. I mean, I really do think that the 11 is got a really big shot to win here, over a horse like White Paint. This is probably where I need to make a stand, and be against a favorite, because there's two really overwhelming favorites that look a little bit less suspect than I think White Paint does. And I don't know, like White Paint hasn't really done anything wrong, but I think, like I said, it's the Forte problem, right? Like you strip.
She's
a lot of
actually
stuff.
fast, though. I mean, that's the thing.
I know, but like you strip away some stuff, at least on the Brisnet PPs, and you compare against other horses. And I don't know. I think she does compare pretty well. I mean, like Botanical also ran a 94 Briz, and I know it's on the on a Tapeta, but also kind of fits in there. Wonder Wheel's got a 92, and we know Wonder Wheel ain't winning this race. That actually, I don't think I've have I hit this yet? I don't think I have.
Take out Reducer? You going to take out Reducer?
She's definitely take out Reducer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she's
take out
totally
Reducer,
taking
Wonder Wheel.
Reducer.
Yep.
So
For
Caleb.
For PDT, I'm gonna say Rock Me Mama. I ain't betting Wonder Wheel.
So Caleb, I'm tossing everybody out of the Fairground Oaks, but what was your take on Pretty Mischievous, the 14? A horse who, again, has apparently really enjoyed the Churchill surface. She's run very well over it, 2 for 3 over it, and seems to be one of those ones that's slowly getting a little bit better over time. We haven't talked about her that much. She's an interesting player in here. I won't have her on any tickets, but she seems like a you kind of horse.
So I'm not using her anywhere because I think we saw last time. I think South Lawn is just better. I think that's part of the problem for me is at horses that I assume to go off at a similar price. I think South Lawn is just a better horse in better form right now. But I don't hate Pretty Mischievous, but the combination of the fact they put blinkers on this horse in this race doesn't really. I don't like to see equipment changes at this stage of the game and arguably the biggest race of their career. I mean, that tells me they still haven't figured out what they want to do. There's a pretty established record of Kentucky Derby horses adding blinkers in the race, not really working out. I don't know what that means in the Oaks, but I just don't like it qualitatively. And also the post, I think, is really difficult for this horse. I don't know how she works out a trip from the 14 hole with a horse that likes to be pretty forward. She's going to have to use a lot more horse to try to get to the front. And I don't think she can get in front of the 10. So I think it's a tough post for her to work out her trip. But a different post position, she might make my ticket as like a B/C type, but I would certainly prefer South Lawn.
And as we've seen in all these big days the past couple of years, Into Mischiefs can only get a mile.
Those are facts. In May, they can only get a mile.
Yep. They never.
In September, it's a different story.
How badly did that hurt, Caleb?
Oh, that one still stings.
Hey, well, Mandolin's technically the winner of the Derby. Was Into Mischief.
Is he still the?
Yeah.
Still okay. Good. Okay.
There's technically Into Mischief has technically won 2 derbies.
Technically.
Well, I mean, yeah, there was the September Derby, which is kind of technically, and then there's the Derby DQ, which is also kind of technically. So both of them kind of should have asterisks next to them, but
Yes, they both should have asterisks. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, we got through these races in normal time. I think tomorrow's stream is going to be a little bit longer.
A little rough. Yeah.
We'll recap a little bit of Friday. Probably spend about a half hour, 15 minutes, half hour on just what we see on Friday. We'll dive into the Saturday card tomorrow. We will have. I think we'll task each of us coming up with a Derby play, whether it's exacta or something. Nothing too crazy, but just kind of how we're going to play the Derby, because I feel like Mark and Caleb, especially, horizontally focused probably 95% of the time. I feel like Derby is probably like the one time besides maybe the Breeders' Cup where vertical comes into play a little bit more.
For sure. I will definitely have a super, a try. In the Derby.
So we'll talk a little bit. We'll talk a little bit specifically about the Derby, how we'll structure it vertically, and Mark especially. It probably pains Mark. Mark has got it. Mark's got a guy. Mark has a guy that he has to talk to. Some may call him Vertical Jesus, but he.
Dude, you said I'm going to play a vertical, and I was already starting to message Chase, be like, "Hey, dude, I need some help."
So we'll have a lot tomorrow. We'll probably go through most, if not all, the stakes races. I still got to kind of plan that out. But good luck everyone tomorrow. Obviously, we'll be on Discord. Caleb is unleashed.
That's right.
We've bet Johnny Unleashed multiple times. Now it's time to bet Caleb Unleashed.
We have.
So we'll be around. We'll be in Discord. We'll be on Twitter. So feel free to reach out to us. You guys got any questions or anything? As usual, at wrong_lead on Twitter, on thewronglead.com. Obviously, you can buy a t-shirt. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. If you got friends that have questions about Derby bets and you don't want to deal with them, just be like, hey, here's a video for you to watch. But we appreciate you guys sitting here, spending your evening with us. And we'll be back tomorrow, 7:30 Central, 8:30 Eastern, covering the Derby, stakes up to it. And we will also be looking a little bit back at the Oaks Day. And hopefully we're all a little bit richer. Catch you guys later. Thank you.